Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 on a Saturday morning. It's actually 5:29. It's a little panic at the disco this morning. Somebody, I'm not naming any names, somebody came home last night, ate a little peanut butter and celery, and decided to lay down and take a little nappy poo, and didn't see daylight again. And you know what's funny is I've been up a little over an hour. I've had plenty of time to come down here and make sure everything was set up, but I guess I dreamed everything was set up, and everything indeed was not set up. Apparently I failed to set the stage up last night, so there was some confusion this morning. I'm milling around in the kitchen, I'm drinking coffee, I'm just having a pleasant, relaxing morning, and my mom is sending me text messages saying, hey, there's no show. Oh man. It's a little panic at the disco while I dash in here and set all that up. I'm glad she said something though. I had plenty of time to fix it. If she hadn't said anything, I'd have walked in here just in time for the show to find out there was no show set up. Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, if she hadn't said anything, I would have just wandered in here just in time to find out that there was no show set up. We're drawing a hamster today. This is, when you look on the bottom of this one, this is a safari toy. When you look on the bottom of this one, it says it is a hamster. That's all it says. But this is, by all appearances, a Syrian hamster. They are the golden colored ones with the fur that is long around their body, the short tails, and they are the most common to be kept as pets. So everything suggests that this is a Syrian hamster. The markings, the fur, and it's an interesting history about the Syrian hamster. Hamsters are all over Europe, native to all over Eurasia. No, she's talking about Christopher the ghost. Yesterday, sorry to interrupt, yesterday Elizabeth mistakenly referred to me as Christopher, and it's been haunting her as a ghost ever since. Anyway, hamsters are native all over Eurasia, but they don't breed in captivity well. And in the 30s, they were trying to use Chinese hamsters for medical research, because of their similarities in physiology to humans. But they couldn't get them to breed in captivity very well. And this one, that is way off. This one scientist was like, well, have you tried Syrian hamsters? And so they went to Syria and they dug up a wheat field and it took them all day, dug about 8 feet down all around, and they finally came up with a mother and 11 babies. And they were going to take that mother and 11 babies back to Israel, and they were going to use those animals for some testing experiments. That was the plan. And before they could get there, the mother killed one of the babies. So that left them with a mother and 10 babies. They decided that the mother couldn't be trusted, so she would kill the rest of the babies. And so they exterminated her in a jar of cyanide. And that left them with just 10 babies. And the 10 babies escaped at some point in the trip. And they recovered 9 of them. Of those 9, they got them back to the laboratory, put them in a box, and overnight they chewed their way out of the box and escaped yet again. And they found them, 5 of them. The rest of them were gone forever. And the 5 that they found were 3 females and 2 males, which is not really enough genetic diversity. You really need more genetic diversity. But they're rodents, so it turned out to be enough genetic diversity. And as the story goes, by the end of the year they had 150 Syrian hamsters in the laboratory, because they're mad scientists. The trick here is to make this look like a hamster and not a bear, because it'd be very easy to turn this into a bear. But they found that the hamsters bred very well in captivity, very well indeed. And they were soon overrun with hamsters. Now, they don't mention whether or not he went back to get more hamsters, but he did donate more hamster bodies to the museum that he had recovered on separate dates. So it is suggested that he did go back to Syria and actually get more hamsters with the aid of a local guide. Now, fast forward. These things are breeding very well in captivity. Very well indeed. This guy named Marsh, he wins a hamster in a poker game. He wins a breeding set, and he takes him back to the U.S. and begins breeding him in Alabama. And he takes out ads in magazines and comic books. This is all 1930. The first ones in the laboratory were the 1930s. Now we're up to the 1940s. Marsh has got him in Alabama. He's breeding them in captivity. He's taking advertisements out in comic books. He's telling people how great pets they are. He's telling them how much money they can make by selling them for medical experiments in these comic books and magazine ads. And people all over the country are buying them. Not only is he shipping them to them, but he is facilitating the breeding. So whenever somebody says, well, I have some hamsters, I need bred, he says, well, here's somebody who needs a sire, and he sets it up for them. Very professional operation indeed. He works with the Alabama governor to get them legalized in California. California won't let you import rodents. So he works with the governor of Alabama to get them legalized in California as normally domesticated. Gets that accomplished. And then by 1950, these little turkeys have outbred any operation that could sustain them, and there's no more money in it, because you can't run a breeding operation and sell them if every time somebody buys some they come up with their own 400,000 hamsters. It only works as a breeding operation. It only works if you're in control of the amount of breeding that happens. And so by the 1950s, there's too many domesticated hamsters to remain profitable, and he goes out of business. But hamsters remain one of the most popular pets because they adapt to human handling very well. They're very prolific. And they're cute. And now you know more about hamsters than you ever thought you wanted to. You ever wake up one day and say, man, I just wish I knew more about hamsters. I'm just completely confused about all this hamster nonsense. How do we get to have hamsters as pets? How did hamsters become so popular? Where are they from? Do people eat them? No. People typically do not eat hamsters. In starvation states, some people do. But in those states, they eat dogs and cats too. But not to be confused with guinea pigs. Guinea pigs are actually bred for food. If we ever come up with a guinea pig model, we'll talk about that. But guinea pigs are actually bred for food. The hamsters are not typically eaten. Mostly because they're way too small to make it worthwhile. But also because they're just super cute. is not because they're intelligent, I promise you. You will never convince me of the intelligence of hamsters. Their teeth grow their whole lives, so they have to have stuff to gnaw on because they are rodents. They have to have constantly fresh supply of things to gnaw on. They have to have exercise, so they usually have some kind of wheel that makes squeaky noises in the middle of the night. Because they are nocturnal. But they'll adapt to a daylight schedule because they adapt very well to captivity. It's like once they caught on that it was free food and protection from predation, like, yeah, shoot, yeah, I'm your baby, take care of me. I don't know, maybe they are more intelligent. You want to make sure the shading goes in the direction of the fur. That way when you go back to try to put the fur in, you don't have stray marks that confuse what's going on there. Alright, how are we doing there? There's another little band of shading that comes right through there. And then there's the shading on his limb. And then there's the shading on this arm over here. And then there's shading on this whole side of the face. This whole side is in shade. Like that. Sorry, talking to myself. They are related to squirrels only in the fact that they are both rodentia. And I'm not sure squirrels are rodentia. Mom's in the chat room. She's asking if they're related to squirrels. I'm not sure that squirrels are rodentia. I'd have to look that up. I made a very bold statement just then. But if they're related to squirrels, it's only because they're the relation to rodentia. But here's a kicker. Hamsters are endangered in Eurasia. Their habitat is being destroyed all across Europe and Asia, and they are endangered. And you don't usually think about endangered rats. I don't usually think about endangered rats. Wouldn't even occur to me that a rat could be endangered. Wouldn't even occur to me. that a rat could be endangered, but here we are with endangered rats. Can't talk, arting. You ever go back and read the captions that YouTube gives my streams? And the whole can't talk arting thing comes up as many different things besides art. It will tell you that I can't talk because I'm farting. It will tell you that I can't talk because I'm parting. It will tell you anything except can't talk arting. And I could go back and correct it. YouTube gives you that option. I just think it's funny. Now, the shadow is dark around the base of the hamster and kind of up the middle to the top of the shadow, but right through the middle there's some reflective light bouncing off of the hamster back down into the shadow. If you don't include that, it won't read. It helps the hamster read as round. So you have to include that just to make sure the hamster reads as round. Because it's really interesting how your brain interprets stuff like that. If you want something round, you have to make sure and leave reflected light at the bottom. Without the reflected light at the bottom, your brain says it's flat. Except in the case of contact shadows. Contact shadows can be very dark. Alright, hopefully you have learned more about hamsters than you ever intended to learn about hamsters. My mom says she doesn't like rats. got a little carried away shading this tummy. I've got a couple of things going on here. The tummy is white. The inside of his leg here is white. It's not whiter than the paper, but it is whiter than the remainder of the hamster. And so we're going to shade the whole hamster here. Trying to make sure we preserve that white. And now I'm going to go back in and make sure I can still see all of the forms. Leaving that little highlight on the eyeball. Make sure not to lose that highlight in the ear. Don't want to lose that ear. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to shade the whole thing, because again that tummy is a lighter color, but it's not whiter than the paper. It's not as white or whiter than the paper. Now I do have some stray lines I'd like to clean up, because his nose is not that pointy. Like I said, we want to go back through and we want to make sure we maintain the highlights, otherwise it won't look round. That line should not be that dark, but it should be that obvious. Now I have a highlight on the top of that arm I need to bring back. And these toe balls need highlights. Where else did I lose a highlight? The highlights, again, the highlights are important, because without the highlights it doesn't look round. The pouches in their cheeks, when they first studied these things and dissected them, the first one they documented the dissection. He opens it up and he finds inside the cheek there's a thin muscular membrane holding wheat, and the wheat is packed in there so perfectly that he comments that the best of engineers couldn't have packed the wheat any better, couldn't have stacked the wheat any tighter or any better. And he said once he pulled all the wheat out of the pouches and stacked it, the piles of wheat were 3 times the size of the hamster body. Dizzy Gillespie would be proud of that. Nobody under 40 knows who Dizzy Gillespie is. Alright, I think we're done. I'm going to call it what is today? 17th of May. So I'm calling it let's get the picture there. Safely eject my camera. This will let you see it a little more in the perspective that I saw it. So, alright guys, well thank you so much for joining me. Even I have to go back now and edit the thumbnail because, again, I guess I dreamed that I set everything up last night because I came home and I had some peanut butter and celery and just knocked out, just out for the night. I was only going to take a little nappy poo, just going to take a little nappy poo, and the next thing I know, this was at 7. I laid down at 7. The next thing I know is 4:30. I wake up at 4:30. I'm just milling around the house drinking coffee, and my mom calls and sends me a text message. Says, "Are you streaming today? Are you awake?" Yes, I am glad I have a working phone. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says to see me dancing so that I know that the stream doesn't cut off in the middle of a sentence.